Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. So last week I asked for recommendations on where do I start with the DC animated movies, because I want to try to get into them considering that movie theaters are still closed and we are still in a pandemic. So I definitely appreciate the feedback you guys have given me and just given me a list of the movies that I should watch, and even with the movies that are actually connected to each other, how to watch them in what order. So I'm going to start off with one of the movies that has gotten the most mentions in the comics. And that movie is going to be 2010's Batman Under the Red Hood, which is a story about Batman as he discovers this mysterious figure in Gotham called the Red Hood. And while pursuing the Red Hood, Batman discovers that his identity is actually linked to somebody that Batman once knew. And it definitely opens up some horrible wounds in Batman's past. Like I said before, this is one of the DC animated movies that has gotten the most mentions when I asked for recommendations. And I gotta say, it's a very good first impression of what's to come. Even though I, again, consider myself to be more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy, I've always liked a lot of DC animated shows, whether it's Batman, Superman, Justice League, or Teen Titans, but I've actually never bothered to watch the animated movies that they've been putting out. And in watching this, it maintains a lot of what made those older series so great, while being a little more adult. I mean, this movie is PG-13, so compared to those shows, you can actually get away with some curse words, bloodshed, and even some very implied grotesque violent moments, like the scene where the Red Hood pretty much hands a bunch of mob bosses a bag full of decapitated heads. So that was a good first impression that these DC animated movies don't really screw around, but at the same time never go to the point where they're over the top and gratuitous. And in terms of the story itself, I'd known about the Red Hood and his backstory, and in a sense he's pretty much Batman's Winter Soldier, where his true identity, spoilers for those of you who haven't seen the movie or know this in the comics, is a previous Robin, Jason Todd, who has pretty much gone down the path to become a villain or an anti-hero, similar to how Bucky Barnes was Captain America's sidekick and eventually became the Winter Soldier. It adds some complexity to the story and brings up an element of Batman that sometimes I just keep asking myself several times. Since the Joker was involved with the creation of the Red Hood, having beaten Jason Todd to a pulp, you kind of ask yourself several times, why doesn't Batman just kill him? Like, the supposed death of Jason Todd should have been the ultimate nail in the coffin for Batman snapping and killing the Joker. And even Jason brings up that question, why don't you just do it? And that's something in Batman that has been an important aspect of the character, is that he never kills. But even then, there are moments throughout Batman's history where I ask, yeah, why doesn't he do it? And he pretty much breaks it down in this movie and says, look, not a day goes by where I want to, but the fact is that it's too easy. Like, it's just really too easy to kill all the criminals. And even though he doesn't say it, if Batman were to go out and actually be a murderous psychopath, then he's a criminal himself. He's no better than the Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, the Penguin, and his motto and code of not killing the criminals makes him better than them. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely adores Tim Burton's first Batman movie and likes many aspects of Batman Returns, two movies where Batman clearly has no problem with killing people. And speaking of Batman, he's voiced in this movie by Bruce Greenwood, who I know as Captain Pike from the two J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. And he actually does a really fantastic job. His voice is well suited for Batman, to the point where I honestly forgot it was Bruce Greenwood. There were moments where I thought it was Kevin Conroy, because Kevin Conroy is Batman. But Bruce Greenwood, in terms of a Batman voice, is probably the second best. And again, there's never a point where I think that's Bruce Greenwood. I just think that is Batman. And some of the other voice acting is pretty good as well. You have Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing, who, again, at points he was unrecognizable, but there are a few points where if I closed my eyes and really think hard, I just go, yeah, that's Neil Patrick Harris. The voice actor who voices Black Mask is very intimidating. And it was actually cool to see a different side of Black Mask and Probably the more comic book accurate version of Black Mask compared to Ewan McGregor's in Birds of Prey, which I still like that interpretation a lot. Funny enough, the only voice actor that I didn't think worked all that well was John DiMaggio as the Joker. I mean, he's got the laugh down, and there's something about this Joker's design that's really creepy, but for some reason John DiMaggio's voice just didn't quite work. He's too calm, he's too relaxed, and outside of the laugh and design that I mentioned beforehand, there's nothing about this Joker that really screams psychotic. And I understand Mark Hamill can't do the Joker forever. Like, there are just some pieces of media where you have to get another voice actor, but I don't think John DiMaggio's Joker really worked. I don't know if he's voiced the Joker in other forms of media, like video games or other animated movies, but with this one alone, it just didn't work for me. I felt underwhelmed. And then there's also a few points in this movie where the animation is kind of sloppy, in the sense that there's not a lot of movement. And there's even one shot in the movie that's at a distance where the Red Hood loses a knife that he's using to fight Batman with. And again, it's a long shot from a distance, and the proportion of the knife makes it seem bigger than it actually is. That might be a nitpick for most people, but for me, it just felt a bit jarring. But that being said, complaints aside, this is actually a very good first impression, and I'm honestly glad that I picked this as my first movie to watch. The action's exciting, the voice cast is mostly good, it's got some great moments to it, and again, if nothing else, it was a fantastic introduction to what else the DC animated movies have to offer. So I would say this is worth seeing in your lifetime. If you're like me and you've never seen these DC animated movies before, I would probably say that this is a good place to start, because Batman is easily accessible considering that he's DC's most popular character. And the great thing about this animated movie is that it's short, which means that there's no padding. The movie gets right to the point and even manages to develop some things for people who aren't hardcore Batman fans or don't know the comic history. So yeah, this was a great first impression for what's to come, and I definitely recommend it. And there you go, that's my review for Batman Under the Red Hood. I've made a list of all the DC animated movies that I want to try to watch based on your recommendations, and I'm going to try to review one a week. So I won't say what the next review is because I don't know what I'm going to tackle next, but hopefully I can get that review up next week. Now I want to know what you guys think about this movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media. Until then, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.